Hi everyone, please welcome Christoph Eikmeier, Lead Product Owner at real.digital, previously Lead Product Owner Marketplace at real.digital, former Team Lead at UX UI Design at Chefkoch, formerly consultant at Deloitte Digital Germany. He loves mountain biking, backpacking and bikepacking. Christoph, great to have you.
Thanks, Tina.
You met lots of varying products, business models and clients during consulting, switched then to digital recipes, and are now digitalizing and hypermarket brand. What's your personal mission?
Well, my personal mission is to bring together people who love to build digital products and to combine their strength to bring to eventually bring the best value both to the customer and to the business. And yeah, in order to do that, I try to find and develop good product designers, user researchers, product managers, bring them all together and try to figure out what the best ways are to actually discover and develop software that actually become great products.
Until September this year, you had two roles at once, which are both, well, lead product owner and head of product design. Are your products more design driven as head of PD, or what's the story behind?
Yeah, so I took over in roughly a year the position of the head of product design while remaining a lead product owner or lead product manager in Digital. And of course, that led to some conflicts. For example, I was building up the product design team beginning of the year, hiring a lot of new product designers and user researchers. And of course, at the same time, I was responsible for a certain number of product teams who were longing for product designers. So once I was able to recruit one product designer in my role as a head of product design, I then had to decide where to put that person and where the highest need for a new product designer was. And of course, there was a little bit of a conflict because I had a high interest also to assign these new product designers to my teams, so that my product components that I'm responsible for, get further developed. And I kind of had to balance with these two roles for a while.
You said your teams. How many do you have? What teams are they? How do they look?
Well, at the moment, I'm responsible for 4 teams, which are building the checkout, the payment area, and also the after sales area. Or the account where the customer can log in, the help center where customers can ask for help once they bought something at real.de. And currently there are 4 teams, but as we plan to grow in the future, I guess there will be a couple of more in the next months.
And each team, how many people are on this team? Like designers, product managers, or how is it? How's it put together?
Yes. So we build interdisciplinary product teams that we try to build as empowered product teams, giving them a mission, giving them some key metrics that they are responsible for, and then leave it up to the team to figure out how they can best influence these key metrics and what initiatives are necessary, and figure that out both within the team and together with the stakeholders on the business side. For that, in most of the teams, we have a product designer, sometimes even 2 if the product is very complex. We always have a product manager for a team. And of course, we have software engineers that are also a viable part of the product team. Then we have kind of overarching user researchers that are responsible for all the product teams and help them to find the right discovery methods to actually, find out what the users want and what solutions work and what don't.
So you already talked about the metrics. We come to that later. But before we do that, I'd like to go into the actual currently news. AI was recently acquired by the Schwarz Group, which also owns Lidl and Kaufland. You stated that Kaufland will be rebranded in 2021. Are you working on the rebrand right now?
So we are currently preparing for rebranding because in beginning in next year we will become Kaufland.de, and of course there are lots of things to do and to prepare. So yes, we already have started with preparations.
Well, what is the main challenge of such a rebrand?
Well, I don't know where to start. So I think there are lots of challenges. One big challenge, of course, is to combine all the functionalities that there are currently on Kaufland.de, because that page is already existing. It's not an e-commerce page, but a lot of valuable information with regards to the Kaufland stores are provided to the users on Kaufland.de, and we need to combine that with our e-commerce marketplace that is solely focused on selling goods online, both from our own direct sales, but also from a large number of sellers. At the moment, we have more than 5,000 different sellers who sell their products on our platform. And both of these information have to be combined so that both the users who look for information for their next Kaufland store in their hometown find their relevant information, and the people who want to shop for Christmas presents and want to buy the new iPhone also find all the information they need.
What has changed in terms of brand's vision? Do we have to combine also the vision of the brands Real and Kaufland?
Yes. So of course, the brand of Kaufland will develop further. Kaufland is currently a brand which is focused on stationary business only. And now that we join the Kaufland team and the Schwarz Group, we will, of course, add something both from a business side and also from a brand side.
Will there be a new role then for you, or will it be the same? Do you know that yet?
Well, we will remain our business model as we have it right now. So being an e-commerce marketplace. And that also means that my role for now will remain as it is. Of course, you never know what the future brings,
Sure.
right? So as I said, we plan to grow further under the Schwarz Group and under the Kaufland brand. So I expect also my area and my teams to grow in the future.
Where do you want to grow?
Well, I guess I want to provide the customers the best experience once they decided for a specific product, right? So this is my current responsibility. Once the customer really has decided, okay, I want to buy this product, then it's my responsibility and the responsibility of my teams to make that as easy and as smooth as possible. So going through the checkout process, going through the payment process, signing in, signing up, and also providing transparent information about the success of the purchase and everything that follows after that, both in the user interface and also in the email communication, so that the customer has a really good feeling and always knows once I click on add to cart or on buy at real.de or kaufland.de in the future, that I can lean back from that point, because I know that everything is easy and works the way I expect it to be.
Is the website or the online shop separated from a mobile app, or is it both? So you're dealing with both desktop and mobile versions?
So we don't have a native mobile app. What we do have is a responsive website where, of course, we mainly focus on smaller devices, because this is where most people shop nowadays.
Before, you were formerly lead product design lead at Chefkoch. How different is a retailer rebrand in contrast to a digital recipes brand like Chefkoch?
Yeah, it's completely different. It's really a completely different business model. At Real or in the future Kaufland.de, we're focusing really on conversion, on selling something. So everything, all the metrics we have set up are focused on converting the customer, retaining the customer. Also, after the customer bought something, to keep the customer happy and satisfied with the delivery and the product that he has. So it's completely different from a business model such as chefkoch.de, which mainly consists of providing the user with helpful information. In that example, it's mostly recipes that are provided to the customer, and in addition, refinancing that by displaying relevant ads to the customer. And of course, this there's, from a product design perspective, always a struggle to find a balance between kind of the business side, business interests, which means more advertisement, means more revenue, and on the other side, the users' needs, where most of the users will say less advertisements means more customer satisfaction or user satisfaction, because when you ask customers, do you want to see more or less advertisement? Of course, everyone will say, I want to see less.
Indeed. So I know that you're working with design sprints. You still are, right?
Yeah, but I have to admit that it became more and more difficult to do that in a remote setting. And as much as I like working remote because it has a lot of benefits, um, what I really miss is the intensity that these kind of on-site multi-day workshops, such as the design sprint, have. I have done numerous design sprints in my last companies, and what I always liked is the high level of energy that the participants showed when you know, bring them into one room and say, okay, now you have 3, 4, 5 days to come up with something that will actually be tested with users in the end. So there's really a goal to build something, no matter how rough it will be. And I really haven't found a way yet to transport this kind of energy level to a virtual and remote workshop setting.
Good to know. So I also know that you're a great fan of the Google's Heart framework for measuring UX. And now we're at the topic of the metrics and the measurements. Well, this Heart framework was designed by Google's researchers, Kerry Rodden and Hilary Hutchinson. How do you measure those UX metrics at Real Digital and later Kaufland.de?
Yes, so maybe first of all, I have to say that I'm a huge fan of making of asking product designers to focus on certain metrics, because what I try to tell the product designers at Real Digital is that it's not about the output, such as the number of iterations that a designer makes with his designs, or the number of users that see a certain design, but it's all about the impact and the outcome that is generated by these designs. And it might be that the first design is already that good that it provides a tremendous impact to the company's metrics, while at the same time I have seen teams struggle with doing iterations and iterations of certain designs and UX improvements, and not showing any impact, any outcome of the whole process at all. So this is why I like to tell the product designers, think about really the metrics. What do you want to achieve in the end? And this and for this, in order to get there, I found it very helpful to use frameworks such as the Google Heart framework, as you mentioned, because it helps people to really come closer to their key metrics and not try to jump there in one big step. And of course, for us, as I said, as we are a commerce business, everything that is related to conversion is very important to us. But we must not forget at the same time that customer satisfaction is also very important. And I always tell the teams, both the product designers or the product managers, that they should make sure that the metrics they are focusing on really can be influenced by them as a team. It doesn't help if a team says, well, okay, we want to improve customer satisfaction, so let's look at the overall NPS, for example, Net Promoter Score in our company, because the overall Net Promoter Score is influenced by so many different variables and aspects that it's then really hard to tell if one certain activity of a team led to an increase or decrease in the Net Promoter Score. So I'm trying to help the teams find metrics that are specific for their business that they can influence and also measure with a high confidence level, and say, okay, this increase or decrease in the key metric that we identified really is due to the fact that we changed something in the product.
There are other metrics, examples for happiness, the perceived ease of use. Are you measuring those as well?
Yes, for example, time to complete task. So we, of course, measure how long does it take for a customer to, for example, go through the whole checkout process, because checkout is a very complex process if you look into it, where a lot of things can go wrong. And we, of course, look at success rates, but we also look at, for example, the time it takes customers to go through that. And we have tools that allow us to then look at user session recordings that fulfill certain criteria. So we can select the customers that need a very long time compared to the average to go through the checkout, and then specifically look at their journey and try to optimize the journey then based on the outcome of these analysis.
So you mentioned like recording tools. How do you do that, and what tools are you using exactly?
Right. So the tool that I was referring to right now with the example is called Content Square. I think it's a French tool that we use quite intensively because it has, compared to other tools, also compared to Google Analytics, for example, that we're using as well, a very low barrier, entry barrier. And I mean, if I approach a product designer and say, you have to work more data driven, then normally that the product designer in the first step shies away from that challenge, because it's not what product designers typically learn in their education. So it's a new topic, and for that the hurdle seems to be very high. So of course I cannot ask the product designer in the first step to write any SQL code to do some queries on raw data. But tools such as Content Square that have a nice user interface and are easily approachable, so to say, help product designers also work with these kind of quantitative data in addition to the qualitative analysis that they do with user testings and so on.
So are you recording real people? Are you interviewing them remotely or in your lab?
Yes. So before Corona, we spent, I would say, a considerable amount of money and effort to build a dedicated UX lab with all the tools that you need for such a lab. But now, unfortunately, we cannot use all these tools because we cannot invite users in person to interview them. But we changed all the user testing to a remote setting as well. And I mean, that has upsides and downsides. I would say a con is that with remote testing, you always have a tool barrier, because people have to, make sure that their sound and video is working, and everything is working for them, and I mean they don't have a technician that sits next to them and can help them if anything goes wrong. So that's a downside. But on the other side, what it allows us to do is to recruit users more geographically diverse. So before, when we invited users to come to our office, most of these people came from Cologne or the environment. But now we can basically recruit from all over Germany, which gives us a more diverse insight.
And I'm just curious, is the feedback of customers changing in terms of preferences or trends? For example, at real.digital, is product management changing in direction to more sustainable products, for example?
No, I don't see that yet. I still see like a high um, um, a high sensitivity to pricing when it comes to customer decisions. So when we talk to customers, this is to many people the most important criteria. They want to get the product for the best price, and of course, everything else like payment options, delivery, and so on needs to work as well. But yeah, in my observation, when it comes to our like standardized articles such as a washing machine, a TV, or the new smartphone, then it's all about the price.
Okay, and it's for price is for people generally an issue, but in terms of additional features or information, are you using tools or methods like personas or buyer personas, or do you have something else, or you don't have an at all?
Well, I have to admit that this is something that we have been discussing for a long time, and at the moment, we don't have as deep user insights as I would like to have, and maybe that level is never reached because I always want to have more insights. But what we do is that we kind of not only do specific scenarios where we test specific questions, but we also try to generate more generic insights about shopping behavior and about the way that people perceive real.de in general and as a brand and as a platform by by doing like more general testings where we invite users to buy a random product that they wanted to buy anyway, give them a voucher so that they have some motivation to buy it on real.de, and then follow and observe them through the whole process to find out any problem that comes along.
Really nice to hear. Would you say that a designer or a designer's intuition is more valuable than data?
No, I would not say so.
Why?
Well, in data we trust. So um, because I mean, if you would allow this argument, then this would maybe work for one designer, but put two designers in a room, and one has a gut feeling, the other one has a gut feeling too. So who wins now? And you basically cannot solve this. Of course, ideas need to come from inspiration, from also experience, and it's totally fair that product designers build hypotheses and say, okay, based on market observation, based on my prior experience, working for a different company, based on my personal experience, I think that by doing this, we could achieve this outcome. That's totally fair to come up with this hypothesis, but it's worth nothing until it has been tested.
What was your most interesting or most innovative project lately?
What I really liked is something that is already a while ago. That was last year when I was still working for Chef Koch, and we built a new app, which was a shopping list app called the Chef Koch Smart List. I was involved from the very start on in developing the idea, developing the first prototype of it, and then I left the company, and other people took over. But that was really a project that I loved, because the way it was set up, it was exactly as I wished a product discovery to be, very hypothesis driven, very test driven, and very insights driven, so to say. Yeah, I love that very much. Of course, there are other projects that I'm currently working on for real.de that are very challenging and exciting at the same time, but unfortunately, I cannot talk about them right now.
I guess so.
Yeah.
For your smart list, did you get to know the experiences or those people who experienced the app? Did you get feedback there? Did you see how they liked it, how they used it? What was your feeling?
Well, I was only involved in the first iteration of the prototype, but of course, from the very start on, we involved customers, and our idea was from the very beginning to have like a pool of beta testers that would give us feedback often and regularly. And this was an approach that, from my point of view, also paid off quite well, because there were a couple of hundreds of users in that pool later, that then helped helped a lot to gain insights on a regular base without the necessity of deploying a new software version to all the thousands and hundreds of thousands of users that came later.
So in terms of new technology, how is Real or Kaufland integrating technologies like AI or machine learning?
Well, I cannot tell you right now how Kaufland is doing, as we are currently focusing on the rebranding. But at Real, we have a team of data scientists who work together with the product teams and identify spots where it could be most valuable to apply data science methodologies, such as using machine learning or so on, to improve our product components. So yes, we have a dedicated team and dedicated data scientists that then work together with software engineers to build models and to improve these models.
So you're still evaluating on that, right?
Well, we are using kind of these kind of machine learning algorithms when it comes to recommending products to our customers, because these are building good recommendations is a very complicated thing, and for this we of course need a lot of data that we then try to apply in a way that is most beneficial for us as a business, but also for the customer.
Does real.digital or Kaufland has a North Star metric, like the one metric that they follow, not only the designers or the product teams?
Well, yeah, I would say there is one key metric, which is like the most metric, and that's the GMV, so the gross marketplace volume, which means like the whole amount or the whole revenue that is traded above our company. That's not the revenue that we as a marketplace make, because if a seller sells something on real.de, we don't get the full price as a revenue, but only a commission. But the GMV is the whole revenue, and of course we're aiming to maximize that, because we're a platform, we're a marketplace, and platforms are all about growth and all about size, so that economics of scale apply, and that's what we're aiming for, to maximize our GMV.
You said that, yes, you're currently focusing on the rebrand, on getting the teams together to build teams to later on grow all the products. What is your personal mission or vision for your role at Real and Kaufland? What's the next step for you?
Yes. Basically, I'm managing product managers that then manage their teams to come up with the best results. And my goal is to find some more great product managers for the teams that we're about to build in the future, and to develop and grow the product managers that we already have, to help them become the best version of themselves, so to say.
And by the way, for the audience, real.digital in Kaufland is a remote first company, meaning that talents are working from wherever they want, especially now in times of the pandemic. So you're looking for new talents right now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. If you go to www.real-digital.de, you will find our open positions there. But in general, just approach me or someone from our HR team and engage in a discussion with us. We're always looking for new tech talents.
We'll include your profiles, of course, in the subtitles. What do they need to have in terms of skill sets? Product designers, product managers?
Yeah, I think what applies to both product designers and product managers is that they need to have a good business understanding. I don't just want to have a product designer who's a good designer, but I want, as I said earlier, that designer to know what he's building for, to know what he's focusing on, what outcome what she wants to achieve. So they should know what the most relevant business metrics for us as a company and for their respective team are.
Okay, well, we have always our top 5 list where I ask every guest on the show, what's your number 1 book?
My number 1 book certainly is inspired by Marty Kagan, because this is the blueprint for our tech and product organization. And we try to shape the roles and shape our organization in a very, very similar way to what Marty Kagan describes as a kind of the best of his Silicon Valley experience.
Your number 1 resource can be a blog, podcast, magazine.
What I really like is the New Work podcast. It doesn't have to do anything with product design or product management specifically, but in that podcast, the 2 hosts are talking to people who kind of are top notch when it comes to the way people collaborate. And I think that it's crucial, not only in times of Corona, but also looking ahead, to really optimize the way that people collaborate and work together. Yeah, I like this podcast. I get a lot of inspiration out of it.
Your number 1 person you follow?
I don't think that there is one specific person I follow. There are some people on LinkedIn or on Twitter. I'm not that active on Twitter, I have to admit, but I don't have one specific person that comes to my mind.
Number 1 research method?
Always the classic usability testing. So build a prototype, how shabby it may be, can be even an analog prototype, and then sit down with a customer, preferably in person, not virtually, and see if that person can figure out how to use it.
Number one skill a product designer or product manager must have. You decide which one you choose.
Okay, then I'll focus on the product designer, and my number one skill that I require from a product designer is to be focused on customer needs and to make sure and to do everything to understand customer needs, not by guessing, but by interviewing customers, by observing customers, and to really distilling the essence of the user needs.
Before we come to the end of today's episode, one last request. Give our listeners, our audience, a statement that you would like to see spread around the world.
If you want to become a world-class product designer, don't work on your Figma skills, but work to better understand what makes your business tick, what the main metrics are, learn them, and make sure that you optimize for these metrics.
Great. Christoph, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you. Very interesting, great insights. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Tina.